53 different extraterrestrial races, and some of them look like us and some of them look nothing like us. And then he stopped himself and said, oh, maybe I'm talking a little bit too much right now, because these are the guys that are seeing the paperwork, right? Like, they're seeing the pictures, they know where the craft are, they know where they've taken extraterrestrials to be examined. And he talks about the treaties, that some of the extraterrestrial races have treaties with our planet, which permits them to come and look around and do different things. So it's pretty layered. It's pretty layered.
Yeah. Sounds like there's a lot of extraterrestrial politics going on.
Oh, amen, man. Exactly right.
What if I told you that everything you know is just the beginning? Beyond the veil of the ordinary lies a realm of hidden knowledge, ancient wisdom, and untapped potential. A place where consciousness expands, reality bends, and the impossible becomes possible. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You were meant to awaken. Open your mind, remember who you truly are, and step with me beyond the frequency 369. Hey, before you start the episode, if you're on YouTube or Rumble, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. You want to make a comment? Go for it. It's America. If you catch me on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit me with those 5 stars. I appreciate the support. Let's start the show.
I went on the roof of my house with my friend because he wanted to see one. So we went up there, and we weren't up there 30 minutes when a whole fleet of lights seemed to be in the heavens again, came from the north all the way to the south horizon in about a second and a half. Literally just right across. But it didn't seem like they were above us, just above us. It seemed like that they were like in the heavens with the stars. And then 30 seconds later, they all came back again. And we witnessed that. We were so excited to tell our folks, our parents, what we'd seen. We climbed down the antenna. We go running over to his place where my folks were having coffee. We told them, and they just laughed at us. So,
Of course.
him and I went back to my place, and we put on the TV and watched Star Trek.
Fair enough. I love Star Trek. Yeah.
And that was the story that caught Mark's attention and why we got together on this 10-year journey in over 21 countries.
I was definitely more interested in that. I loved that the visual, Cesar, of the two days up the antenna tower and having a little makeshift sky watching kit.
I saw it too.
It's an image, and I remember that image. I remember him telling me both the stories. It's like summer of 2014, and I remember that. And I thought the first story was really interesting, but the second story, how they really, it felt like they were willing it, like they were actually creating a connection, and they willingly put themselves on the roof of a house, with their little sky watching kit with the intention to make contact. And I started to research that. The part that interested me was that.
Because what my friend had said, because I was kind of now the celebrity at school, having seen this thing that was all over the newspaper. So he came to me and he said, Rob, I would really like to see one of these. How could we see one? And I just, out of nowhere, I made it up. I said, let's just go on the roof of my house one night when it's clear sky and see if we can see one. Well, we did just that. And we didn't see just one, we saw hundreds. Like it was just a whole armada of lights that went from one horizon to the other and then back again.
But it sounds like now that you were, let's just say, tuned in, they were just there. They've always been there. You just tuned in to just be able to just see them. And did your friend get to see it too?
Yeah.
Man, so maybe he was in your field or something like that, and he was resonating, vibing with you. What a beautiful thing. What for either of you, what is the most recent, now coming back here to the present day, what's the most recent contact that you've had, or has it been a while since?
Yeah, the most recent one I would say, and I think Rob would probably enjoy this one as well, is we went to France. You know, we went to we it was it was last summer, I believe. Yeah, a year and a half ago. And we went to France, Spain, and the United Kingdom. And our first stop was in France because I had done a little bit of research on a mountain in Bugarash, and it was a famous mountain because Steven Spielberg in the late '70s was looking for a mountain for Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and he had heard the legend of this mountain, and that people referred to it as the UFO garage. And he found that he just found that fascinating. And when he got to that mountain, he started to talk to the local people, and they knew who he was, but they said no because they didn't want them to go away. That was what they didn't want. You know, there's even a church in the little town, the little village, that's got the mountain and then it's got the word extraterrestrials written underneath. So it's all very ancient, all very like legend. And so Rob and I wanted to go there. And of course, it was the worst travel day I think we've ever had. To be honest, it was 11 hours with a delay. And when we got off the plane, it was discovered that all of Rob's equipment, luggage had been delayed, and it was in another part of the world.
All of
So
it.
he's nothing. He's as bare as can be. The UFO World Explorer had no cameras.
Wow. Coincidence?
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly, Cesar. It's exactly right. So, and we were super tired. I think we got in at like 11 o'clock at night. We were supposed to get in at 11 that morning. But Rob being Rob, it's so why I love the man. He says, we got to go out. Like, you know, when
course.
things go wrong, you know, of course, right? You know, when things go wrong, something's going to go right. And if we're going to have an experience, so we shouldn't stay here. So I said, okay, I'm a wimp. Like I'm a self-professed wimp. But I said, okay, let's do it. And we got to the mountain. It was at that point, it was about quarter after 12. We're driving around the perimeter. And then the question was put out there. Well, where do we stop? And Rob said instantly within seconds, it's right here. We got to stop right here. So we did. We stopped. We got out. We're looking at the mountain. And within 15 minutes, we got the most spectacular show that we could never have imagined. Like it was like they were projecting like lights that were coming from everywhere, lights that were going over the mountain, lights were going everywhere. And this lasted, Cesar, for 2 hours, 2 straight hours. These lights were just dancing. We're like, where's the airport? You know, where's the airport? Where are the spotlights? Like, where's the source of these lights? Because like as Rob said, and Rob, describe the lights in the clouds.
Yeah. Well, first of all, when I asked the other person that was with us, she said there's no airport within 200 miles. We were in the middle of the Pyrenees. Okay. And there were just small villages around. There was no airport. I would describe the lights as if they were being projected from above, like spotlights that were shining on the clouds from above, and they were dancing around everywhere. And lights were
Everywhere.
chasing each other and doing these patterns and going over to the mountain. And it went on for 2 solid hours. Now, all I had was my iPhone. So I put it on video and I was filming and filming and filming, but they weren't quite bright enough to be captured by the iPhone. And is that like a wink, wink? But we saw it with our own eyes, all 3 of us. And right at the end, because we were coming up to the 2-hour mark and it was like, gosh, 2:15 or something in the morning. And we're like, well, what are we going to do? Stay out all night and just watch this? We got to get some sleep. And I said, well, what did I say, Mark? As soon as they end, we will go in.
Yeah. And literally within 10 seconds, gone. Every single light
Really?
just is gone.
So you willed it. You pretty much just said, okay, we're done.
Because even the best one, Caesar, was one that came up over our heads like a triangle. It zipped right in. I actually fell back a little bit. I was like, what? It's just sat there for like 5 or 6 seconds, and then it just went right back out again. Like it was the most
Wow.
unbelievable experience in my life. Unbelievable.
So I mean, once you see something like that, there's no way that your mind can go back to like, oh, this doesn't exist, this isn't real. So let me ask you both this though. Now that you've experienced these things and you've seen these things with your own eyes, you've heard them, things like that, you spoke to these beings. Like, where do you go from here? Like, now that you have this knowledge, how have you two individually and together been applying this knowledge to move forward? What's the roadmap here?
Well, I would say,
yeah, like Mark is a documentary filmmaker, so we are putting out documentaries and we really want to educate people around this. But it's not the spectacular stuff you see on Hollywood. Like, you don't have encounters that often. And a lot of it, once again, is not lights in the sky. It's all the crazy stuff that happens around you. So, Mark, maybe you could answer the question more fully.
yeah, no, it's exactly what Rob is saying. We made a decision from the beginning that we would document these experiences in a very unbiased, unfiltered manner. Like people in our documentaries, they have the opportunity to experience it like the every person or the every man or every woman. It's like the understanding is, we're not super famous from this, and we're definitely not super rich or doing any of these. The trajectory for Rob and I has always been make contact, have those experiences, document those experiences if we're allowed, and then share those experiences with all the generations, like not just our generation, but every generation from this point on. Even if all of our video, I think I have, I don't know, 20 terabytes of video over the last 10 years, even if it all got put into a time capsule and put in the middle of the desert and a whole bunch of students found it 50 years from now, when there are spacecraft flying around the sky and it's all accepted, they're going to go, oh, wow, look at these two guys. Look at these two Canadians. They were out there and they were just trying to, bring it to the perspective of actually understanding this is real. I mean, I will just say, and I think it is a tipping point, and this will be my last comment on it, is when you look at what's happening with the U.S. Congress and you look at these guys that are coming forward, like Rush and, all these different people that are in front of the governments of the world saying, come on, it's not about if it exists anymore. Like after 75 years of video and photo and all the evidence, please, if you walk into a court of law with all of this evidence, like, if you were presenting this as a court case, it's been determined, it's real. So now the question is why? Why is this happening? Why are these contact experiences happening? What do they want to tell us? What can we tell the world? And I think that's Rob and I's place in all this. Like he's incredible guy because he had these experiences, when he was 12 years old. He could have left it a long time ago. He decided to keep going, keep following the carrot, keep putting these experiences out there. And for me, as a storyteller, it's like, okay, we're the perfect odd couple because we enjoy that, we complement each other, as far as that. So it's just a privilege to take it to the world.
You brought up a good point on the why. Why is it that for all these years the governments have been keeping this hush hush, and then now all of a sudden from night to day they're like, yeah, okay, we've been hiding this stuff, but hey, forget about that, we've been lying to you. Just know that we're telling you the truth now. Just believe us moving forward. Why do you think that is now?
I think it's interesting. It's a great question, and it's an interesting understanding because if you look at the last 25 years or 50 years of technology and the advancements of technology, and I don't get into a lot of this stuff because it's all hypotheses, because I don't know a lot about it. But when you look at like if you look at the iPhone, right? If you took this iPhone back 50 years ago, it would be like magic. It would be, because that's what, I mean, it's funny in a movie, they say that, magic is just science we don't understand yet. I think it
Right.
was the
Exactly.
movie Thor.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
That
interesting, right? Like, and I think that that's what all this is as well. Like, I think that these absolute levels of advancement in technology, I mean, monumentous advancements, where'd they come from? Like, how can you possibly say that there wasn't some kind of level of help when it comes to these advancements? Well, the governments of the world, they're greedy. That's a horrible thing to
absolutely.
say, but there's a
Absolutely.
greed, you know and so do they want to put out this technology and these advancements that they may have received help from? I was just saying to Cesar, Rob, you look at the advancements and you look at an iPhone. If you took an iPhone back 25 years, it'd be magic. It would be like you brought a magic box into a room. And it's like you look at the technologies and you look at the advancements in technology, and do the governments of the world, if they are working with extraterrestrial races, do they want to give it away? They don't want to give it away to the public. They want to keep it. They want to just keep putting it out incrementally in a good way. And yeah, they just don't want to give it away.
They don't want to give it away, and some people that I've spoken to, they believe that we are like 300, we're actually 300 years advanced in technology, but all that technology isn't given to the public, So, I mean, there's a lot of people within the community that believe that we're already traveling through space and going through portals and stuff, but that's just for the certain people to just be aware and have that privilege and whatever the case is. What do you guys? What are your thoughts on? And I'll send this over here to Rob. Rob, what are your current thoughts regarding this whole interest in Mars as of late?
Well, I mean, they're spending a lot of money. Elon wants to send people to Mars and live there, which is an inhospitable environment. What's wrong with Earth? Like, well, maybe that money should be spent to try to clean up some of the problems we have here. But nevertheless, mankind has to, I guess, explore the universe. I guess it reminds me when I was a kid and 1969, and I sat in front of the television watching them land on the moon for the first time. And I did a whole big scrapbook. In the time period up to that, cut out all the articles and took pictures off the TV and all that. I guess it's exciting, the idea of going there. Some people say that, we could destroy ourselves on Earth. And therefore, it would be good to get mankind out somewhere else for insurance purposes if we do destroy ourselves here. I don't have much more to say about it. I mean, myself, I'm not crazy about going there. You'd have to live in some kind of a special environment, even the gamma rays. And I guess there's a lot of other things involved that are pretty dangerous if you go to Mars, like the environment. So, what are your thoughts, Caesar?
My thoughts. I know that we Elon Musk and other folks higher than him, people that he might be working with. I believe they want to try to build a breakaway civilization on Mars, but not for exploration and for people can come on there and live and have a good time. I believe they're trying to create a breakaway civilization there because on the other side of Mars, between Mars and Jupiter, is an asteroid belt. And they recently found I'll put it up on the screen here for the folks, but I think it's called I think it's Site 60, something like that. But it's a giant asteroid with like trillions and trillions of dollar of minerals there. And I believe that they're trying to get to Mars to then mine the asteroid belt that's in between Mars and Jupiter. And I mean, and if you look into the esoteric, which is where I'm really into, that whole mindset, they talk about that the asteroid belt, possibly according to their stories, is a remnants of a bigger planet that used to be in our solar system that through collision broke away, and which actually a piece of it, supposedly, according to these stories, became Earth. This is why when you look levels and levels down in Earth's Earth's crust, you'll find artifacts that there's no way they can get down that far unless it came from somewhere else, you know? But anyways, so yeah, so esoteric wise, I believe that I know why they're trying to go over to Mars for explanation. And gentlemen, I've talked to remote viewers recently, probably within the last 2 or 3 months, that have seen, they believe, I can't call them liars or anything. They believe that there are underground bases, military-ish like, not nothing where people are living there, and there is stuff going on there. So who knows? Who knows, right? Yeah. So we're dealing with you guys are out here exploring. The ETs are coming over to explore us here on Earth, but how do we get to the ones out there? I mean, you guys are like on the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, which even the tip by itself is fantastical. The things that you guys have seen, you know, I heard there's these esoteric scrolls called the Terra Scroll papers. And I found out years ago that George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, was into these stories. And the stories that he read from these Terra Scrolled ancient, scroll paper are pretty much the same stories that he created Star Wars with. So he got all the details about the different species and the war within, that was all from ancient text that's not mainstream. So if I was a filmmaker and I read something like that and I'm like, no one's really looking into this, I'm gonna make this into a movie, you know?
Well,
So
I'll say
yeah, please.
just really fast because you mentioned George Lucas. Next summer, Steven Spielberg has his next UFO movie coming out, and everybody is so excited about it because they say that he's going to deal with how extraterrestrials are really us from the future. That we're coming back and we're visiting ourselves
So
and giving ourselves knowledge and doing these different kinds of things because this is something he's been fascinated with forever. I mean,
I love it.
Spielberg has had his talks with J. Allen Hynek and Jacques
Yeah.
Vallée and
Yeah.
these guys that have had all the access to like these documents and these experiences that formed Close Encounters and all these different movies. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Very interesting. I wasn't aware of that, and I'll definitely be on the lookout for it because I believe it's a possibility, right? If you can think about it, then your thought creates its own reality, and again, multidimensional beings, so it probably exists. So that's why kind of like when you say be careful what you think of, because you could create universes, in that sense. That's amazing, and I think that a lot of these that phrase, "There's nothing new under the sun," right? I mean, I think that all of these stories are repeated just in different times. The names get changed, maybe the objective might get changed. All the Egyptian gods were the same ones for the Greek mythology and so on and so forth, back and forth. So it's definitely interesting. Well, I'll ask you this while
Yeah,
while
please.
Rob's out. Um, do you think that when it comes to you putting these UFO projects together, talking about these networks, do you think it's a lot easier for these networks to back you up and produce these projects compared to like 10 years ago?
I would think so. I think there's more opportunity. I think there's maybe more accessibility to those spots in the world that you want to go to. But the thing with Rob and I is we're off the beaten path. Like we don't follow the rest of the folks, when it comes to going to places. Like I got into using the internet 10 years ago to be able to find places that we would never have even thought of going. I mean, the first place we went was Area 51, it's as tourist as you can get. And
Yeah.
then we started to really go to very remote areas and started to really feel like, like for example, we just had it's probably too fantastical for people to believe, but when our last expedition was in Brazil, and it's a quick story, but we ended up in an area called Uberaba. And it was the only opportunity throughout the entire Brazil expedition to be with a group of people. So it was like 9 of us. It's usually Rob and I and maybe 1 or 2, sometimes 3. So we're usually between 3 and 5 people, but this was 9. And there was 3 children and 2 parents. Long story kept short so we can get to your questions, Cesar. But I went off to do some interviews in the town. And during that time, the children and the mother decided they saw something, right? They saw something in the woods and they were like, we're going to go for a walk. And Rob stayed behind, said, I'm going to be with my cameras. But he decided to record them going off into the woods with their flashlights, and suddenly they just started to shriek. Like, I mean, like crazy high pierced shrieking and screaming.
Like panic?
Panic, full on panic. And they're running out of the woods back towards the cameras. Rob's filming everything. It's the most incredible footage. It's like out of the Blair Witch Project. You know, like if you've ever seen that movie, it's like found footage, you know, like they're coming at the cameras and Rob's kind of laughing and going, what's going on? Like, are you all right? And they're explaining everything in Portuguese about something that they saw that was quite large, dark figured in the woods with like wings, like big wings all along the side. Then I got back and I interviewed Rob because he's my reference, right? It's like kids can get excited. You know, kids can get excited. They see something, it becomes bigger than life, larger than life, and their imaginations take over. And I said to Rob, I said, what happened? And he described the experience and said, no, look, I heard this thing, sounded like big flapping wings, like pterodactyl wings, right? And then suddenly it started to pound against the ground like it was coming towards me. Like I got, you know, he felt nervous. I mean, he's got his cameras and he said, but it was thudding like across the ground. And then these kids, Cesar, they all drew it. And it's like the Mothman. It's like this big creature that was out in the woods. And it's like, how did we end up in Uberaba? Like, I always ask myself the same question. Like, we're there in Brazil and we're talking to all these people, but we love to go out. We love to skywatch and see what will happen. But this happened. I mean, and multiple witnesses. Like multiple witnesses. It was like the children in Africa that had that experience, and they all drew the same thing. They all saw the same thing. It's exactly what happened in Uberaba.
Rob, it was this creature was just in the forest or behind trees where you couldn't really see it come out?
Yeah, so the road that went into the trees was just in, you know, just a few trees in. So I saw them walking along the road because we had seen lights in the wood earlier. And, you know, they brought it to my attention and I was, of course, moved the camera over there to film in hopes of catching the lights. And then they had said, and then Mark, you know, he had left to go into town. He had to do something. And then the mother and the kids invited me, you know, you want to come with us? We're going to check out those lights. And I had all my expensive cameras there, and it's right by the road, a farm road, and farmers were coming through there now and again. And I thought, I can't leave all my equipment there by itself while we spend an hour going into the woods there because my camera equipment probably won't be there when I come back. So I just thought, well, I'll just watch them in the cameras. And I have my telephoto zoom and the thermal and the full spectrum and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, I heard this screaming. And at the same time, I heard what sounded like a giant bird. I heard like it was slow. Like, you know, the smaller the bird is, the faster the wings beat, right? The larger the bird, the slower it is. And the slowness that the wings were beating, I thought, this has to be a giant bird. And then I heard what sounded like some kind of a heavy creature, like the thudding on the ground, almost like the shaking. And I immediately ran for my camera equipment because I thought, if this is a bird, it's going to come right towards me and maybe knock all my equipment over and ruin it. But it never came. And I thought, but you know, I've got this all filmed. And afterwards, I can review it all, and it's going to pick up all the sounds that I heard. We looked in the footage later, nothing.
Nothing.
Of course.
Nothing. No sounds. And it's like everybody heard it. Like all the kids, the mother, and everybody that was there in that group all heard it. I heard it. We all described the same thing. I didn't see this creature. I only heard it. And
Yeah.
been a lot of other stories, similar stories to this, that circulate around Brazil.
And Rob, it sounds like when you and everybody else that was there, you heard it, but you heard it at the frequency that it allowed you to hear it. Your camera and your equipment probably wasn't on the frequency that it picked up anything. But you didn't see it, but because you described that you sensed or you felt it sounded like a giant bird. Like what else? Like why did you determine? I'm trying to figure out the right question. Why did you determine immediately that it was a bird and not anything else? And could it have been the trees swaying, anything like that?
Oh, it was the sound, the very distinct sound of a large bird going, and that's how it sounded like.
Yeah.
And
Slow
it's like,
flapping. Yeah.
yeah, but very slow, meaning it had very large wings. And then it seemed to be like almost as if it was running on the ground. Here's the strange thing. Just a half a kilometer away was a dinosaur museum. I made a joke and I said, it's almost like some of the creatures out of this museum came alive, like these pterodactyl birds or whatever, because literally it made vibrations in the ground as if it was something very heavy, almost
Damn.
like a dinosaur, like if there was a dinosaur running,
Yeah.
like this, it would
Yeah.
vibrate the ground. And that's what I felt.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sound, very slow sound of what seemed to be gigantic wings. And then what the children described that they saw was a bird-like creature. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah, no, and that's what they drew. They drew all the different pictures and, and it's all the same in all their pictures. It's like 8 or 9 feet tall. It's got the big wings on the side, this kind of darkness in the eyes. And I'll send you a picture. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, by all means.
You'll be the first podcast to get a picture of this because they all got together and they all drew exactly the same thing. And it was very reminiscent of what they call the Mothman, the extraterrestrial Mothman.
The Mothman, like you talking about like the one that fought like Godzilla or something like that?
No. The Mothman it's got the wings, it's got the big wingspan, and it's got on the back, like it's a very, very interesting creature.
Yeah, we'll check
it's
it
more
out.
creature. And Brazil seems to be known for the creatures.
I'm wondering, gentlemen, if we talked about earlier on the beginning of this episode about timeline shifts and everything. What if for a moment that was, Rob, a pterodactyl? Just if we're just playing with it, right? What if it was for a moment there? Because would it be too obvious that there's, a few kilometers away, dinosaur museum? What if you guys we talked about shifting your mindset. What if you guys just happened to be unconsciously because you were in the frequency of it? Because in that time frame, in a different timeline, dinosaurs are probably running around, stomping away. And for a slight moment, you guys were probably there. How cool is that?
Well, it's very possible. And I made a joke that, they escaped out of that museum and became alive because that's what it sounded like. It sounded like something with very large wings, but a lot of weight to it as its feet were going on the ground. And flapping went on for maybe, I would say, I don't even know, maybe something like 10 to 15 seconds, it seemed. And they all saw something because they were screaming. It was a blood-curdling scream.
Blood-curdling.
They were all making. Everybody. Like the mother.
And I interviewed the one little girl. They all told the story on camera, but the one little girl in the front seat of the car with her father, because her father wasn't with her. She was with the other kids and the mother. And to hear her talk about it, it's like, like the way she even says it on camera, like with her eyes, like, didn't you hear it? Like, did you
Yeah.
see it?
She was seeing
I
it and
saw it.
remembering
Like,
it. Like, yeah, she was yeah.
very, yeah, she'll never forget that.
Will you guys go? I'm going to stay with the camera.
Okay.
You guys can go for a walk. I'll stay with the camera.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. What's happening? I hear all the screaming.
Vocês estão tudo aí?
I hear everybody screaming.
No, but this is live. This is happening right now.
Yeah.
So if you can light up with the mother and the child are talking about.
Okay, do you want the white light or the red?
Go white.
Okay.
Só que ele correu muito rápido, porque assim, de começo eu escutei lá longe. Quando eu tava correndo, ele já tava perto.
Ele já tava perto.
Ele foi muito rápido. Tipo
Vamos
assim,
esperar, a gente vai voltar lá agora.
foi tipo assim.
Nós vamos voltar lá.
Ele foi
Coitada da Maria, Maria já tava com medo.
Ele já foi de segundos de lá até mim, até nós.
Foi o rápido, o espaço dele foi muito rápido.
E pesado.
Pesado. Pum, 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 pum. E nós, ó.
Tanto que eu nem gritei, porque eu fiquei em silêncio. Porque, tipo assim, se eu como você tava gritando, eu já teria, tipo assim, eu pensei de um jeito. Se eu gritar, ele não vai me ver.
Veio lá da onde estava a luz, aonde a gente estava iluminando, ele veio daquele sentido. A hora que ele viu que a gente fixou a luz, a hora que ele viu que nós apagamos, aí que ele pegou velocidade e veio pra cima.
So the mother and the boys and girls went for a walk down the road. And since it's cloudy, I just thought, well, I'll just follow them with the cameras. I've got the thermal and the full spectrum and so on. And I just followed them down the road. All of a sudden, I heard the screaming and I heard like a flapping sound. It was almost like a giant bird was flapping its wings. And I heard like a big animal was running down the road, like with its feet or hoofs on the ground, very loud and strong.
Como que era? O que tinha nessa sombra?
Eu não vi direito, tipo, olhei muito rápido. Eu só vi que tinha, tipo, quando eu corria, parecia que era umas pisadas fortes. Tipo, Giovana, isso não é brincadeira, Giovana, é sério, para. E, né, eu só fiquei gritando, aí eu não ouvi direito. Eu só tinha ouvido os passos naquele momento que nós começamos a correr.
Ever.
Yeah. You can't convince her that what she saw wasn't real. Like, to her, it was. It sounds like, I don't know. It sounds like, based off of some of the things you guys been saying, you guys have been borderline time shifting, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, some folks call it quantum jumping, things like that. And you're going in and out of realms or dimensions that you're most attracted to or focused on. I mean, I wouldn't even, given the fact that, Rob, you work so much with this, mindsight deal, like you are in that space of changing that mind to believe that what you're seeing is real. You're like already there. And with Mark, with you, I mean, he's in your field. So he's going along for the ride. So thank you, Rob, because Mark, I mean, forget amusement parks. You're with Rob Freeman.
That's right.
Well, here's the thing. There's the hitchhiker effect, because it's not just me. It's Mark. Ask him about the personal earthquake he had in his room only in a house in Lima, Peru.
Talk to me about it.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, that's that whole trip. I mean, going to Peru with Ricardo Gonzalez and being able to be in that place. And I did not feel well that night. I didn't. I was up till around 3 or 3:30 in the morning, not feeling good physically. I mean, there's altitude sickness as well, but there's a lot of different factors. And then it was about quarter after 20 after 5 in the morning, and I heard this cracking. It sounded like something was coming through the walls. Like I was like, "What's coming through the walls?" And then I looked down and I saw the tiles of the floor in my room like buckling, like they were buckling up
Yes.
No.
like this, like the buckling, like and I'm like, this is an earthquake. And I went out into the hallway, and both Rob and Bill, another gentleman that was traveling with us, I brought them out into the hallway and I said, "Is this going on in your room? Like, look what's going." Rob got his iPhone out right away, he was filming it, and they said, "No, this isn't going on for us at all."
Wait, so you caught the tiles buckling and things like that?
Last little bit of it moving, and all
Yeah.
there are white orbs also, Caesar, going around
Oh,
in the video screen. I don't know where that video is. Mark has probably got it somewhere, but
I got it. I got it.
we captured it, but we didn't experience it. Nobody else in the house did. Only Mark in his room.
In my room. And then I Googled it. I Googled the earthquake site about on Lima and everything. And no, there was no report of an earthquake, nothing,
were you
nothing.
doing anything specific that would have warranted something like that?
Well, I mean, you're on an expedition with Ricardo Gonzalez, and Ricardo's had multiple contact moments. And he even said to me, "You didn't feel well during the night." And he goes, "I just feel that you had a contact experience." Like that usually happens. You don't feel physically well because it plays around with your body, your metabolism. And then he said, and then they communicated with you through this physical manifestation of an earthquake. And it's happened to me a few times. Different things. They adjust files in my camera. They'll change the timestamp on a single file in my camera. Like there'll be 365 pictures, and then there'll be one picture where the timestamp is changed, pushed ahead on the timeline by 2 hours, and then it comes back to the original timeline, and then it goes all the way down. I had that happen on Easter Island, and it happened to be exactly the same picture at exactly the same time that Rob took a picture of a UFO craft in the crater of a volcano.
Yeah.
So it's like it's all the time. It's in our book.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting set of experiences. Crazy.
I am convinced that you guys are just time shifting.
Yeah, we're just
You're
all
having it is so cool. What you got there, Rob?
Yeah, there's the craft.
There it is. Yeah. I'm seeing that.
That was under the lip of a crater in the dark part. The sun was shining towards us. And yet when you zoom in on that photo, Caesar, the shadow is going in the reverse direction.
No. Yeah.
So that's the wink. So there's always something that's the telltale wink.
Yeah.
Okay, there's something wrong with this photo. Somebody might say, "Oh, that's a drone, or that's this or that, whatever." But
Right.
the drones are not allowed in the volcano crater. In fact, on the island, there's no drones allowed unless you have a license. You got to apply for a license. But
Hey.
I just happened to take a picture, and I looked after that evening, we were going through the pictures, and I found that one. I mean, I was taking a number of pictures,
Sure.
and the one picture that Mark, where the file number was changed and the timestamp was changed. He didn't do it. Something or someone changed it. It was the very same picture as that. Mark's got a low resolution version of it, and he just happened to be taking a picture. And so that one with the craft in it is the one where the time stamp was changed in his computer or on his phone.
The timestamp, was it the same day, just a little bit minutes ahead, or what?
It's incredible, Cesar, because I don't usually take photos. I usually take video. But we were on Easter Island. We started at 7:30 a.m. in the morning, And from 7:30 a.m. in the morning until 7:30 p.m. at night, I've got my camera, my big professional camera with the card inside. I don't touch anything. I don't touch anything because it's archival and it's raw footage. And I took 362 photos that day. 362 for over a 12-hour period of time. But at exactly 11:03 a.m., Rob Freeman took a picture of that UFO craft in the crater. Hey, for whatever reason, I'm not looking at Rob. I just took
Right.
my camera independently at 11:03 a.m. I took a picture in the same crater in the same spot. But when I went home back to the hotel that night and I took the SD card and I put it in my laptop and I can see a list of 362 pictures. They all follow the timeline. The second
Right.
that it hit 11:03, it had pushed itself ahead to 1:03 p.m., 2 hours ahead in time, and then the next picture went right back in synchronicity, right back in chronological order with the rest of the pictures. So it's just one picture.
Why do you
So
think that is?
they went right into the camera and they modified the picture. It was as though they were saying, for me, hypothesis, but for me, it's they're saying confirmation, confirmation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And maybe in a positive light too. Maybe they're giving you just, yeah, like you said, they give you it's not a bad thing that the information was changed. It's to make you aware, like, whoa, there it
It's
is.
exactly, Cesar. It's
So
the
they're saying
wow
hello.
saying,
Or
hey,
they're
man,
saying,
we just want,
we're here.
yeah, we're here.
Yeah.
We're going to do something. You're the camera guy, so we're going to affect your camera because you're going to
Yeah.
know it. You're going to
Yeah.
be aware, and you're going to know that more than anybody else. You're going to be looking at timestamps, and you're going to go, that timestamp changed
Yeah.
for
Well,
one
that's
picture.
Well, and the crazy thing is, there were 3 of us, Caesar, and we all happened, we were just taking random pictures. I mean, it was
right.
beautiful to see the crater, so I snapped a photo. That's it. Now, at the same time, our other person had snapped a photo, and so did Mark, but we weren't watching each other.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
that one photo captured a UFO craft. And that same photo in Mark's camera had the timestamp changed. Among
What
all
about the other guy?
it didn't. What's that?
What about the other individual? Did they also capture it too or no?
Yes, all 3
Yeah,
of us
all 3.
inadvertently captured something that we never saw with our eye.
Okay. So Mark was the only one with the timestamp that was changed.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct.
So well, yeah, they had to show one of you.
Because
One of
what
us.
happened was Mark told us, and we looked at our pictures, found out we had taken the same picture. I got higher resolution on mine because of my cameras. But, did they bring it to Mark's attention so that all 3 would look at our pictures? Don't know.
Yeah. Is that Mark? Is that timestamp? Do you still have that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was wondering that if
Yeah.
you'll be able to send me yours, Rob, and then yours, Mark, so that way we can put it on the screen as well. That's awesome.
Like for me, it only goes up as a very small dot.
Yeah.
Rob's much better quality. For me,
That's super good.
the anomaly is the fact that it changed the timestamp.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's what stands out the most. But I'm curious though, because okay, we talked about the one cop that got scratched, and then everyone else that got infected because of this scratch from this entity that they interacted with. You guys are interacting in various different ways with all these different beings. So I think you guys know where I'm going with this. What is each of yours personal, if you can share, ritual before going into these situations that protects yourself in some kind of fashion? Because you guys are still what I would assume babies in a sense, trying to figure out what all this stuff is. So how are you guys protecting yourself, whether it be physically, energetically, oral, whatever? Bob, I'll throw it to you first and then Mark.
Yeah, I think most of it is intention. Okay, that we only want to connect, and we will say it sometimes right out loud. We only want to
Good.
connect with benevolent beings. Benevolent means beings that are interested in helping us for some good purpose. with no harm being done. So we have that intention. It's an understood and understood intention. It can be unspoken, or we will actually speak it. And sometimes we'll imagine ourselves to be covered with white light. That never hurts to do things like that. But really, we do state, put it out to the universe, put it out to the beings, whatever's out there. We do state that we're only interested in connecting with higher benevolent beings. And we might get into more detail. We will ask if you can give us direction to help our fellow human being. What messages can you give us that we can, carry on to our fellow human being, things like that. So it's really all about wanting to be involved in a higher purpose and only being involved with higher level beings, higher level vibrations. So, you know, we just don't want to be involved in anything negative. So far so good. Touch wood.
Yeah, yeah. Mark?
I would share a lot of Rob's sentiments. Like, we always put that intention out, and that's part of the meditation. Like, we've done meditations that have relaxed us, and we vocalize it. We vocalize it and say, "This is what we're here to experience. This is where we are." It's like a GPS. Like, excuse me, and edit all that out. But so it's, yeah, you're just kind of going through the mental rituals, the emotional rituals of saying, this is our purpose. This is why we're here. If you have a message for us, we would love to take that message forward. Everything is of good intent. It's all very benevolent based. So yeah, that would be it. I mean, and it's worked every time.
And
Good for
Caesar,
you guys. Yeah.
also, we can, a lot of times, I'm not saying it works every time, and I don't consider we're anything special and have anything more than what anybody else has also. They just don't use it. But many times we get a strong feeling that we're going to be successful, that we're going to make contact. Where, I can give you just as a big example, the Squamish orb. That video's got over 100,000 views. That was captured in Squamish, BC, about an hour or so north of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And we had been with Charles Lamoureux for a few days, just a little expedition to Vancouver. And we didn't really see much. We were in Vancouver at parks and things filming, but there wasn't much happening. And we had one more night, and we invited Charles to come up with us to go an hour north. And he looked at the forecast and he says, guys, we've been together the last few days and it's going to rain tomorrow. He says, I'm just going to chill out. You guys go ahead. We had an extra night to kill. So we drove up and we were going to go to Britannia Beach. There's a big mine there, and you see all the shafts on the side of the hill or the mountain there, right near the ocean. It didn't feel right. And then we drove around. We thought, no, it just doesn't feel like there's any place to set up, or it didn't have a good feel to it, is the best way we can describe it. And then we went into this gift shop, and there were these two ladies there. And we just asked them, he said, have you guys ever seen anything strange? And they said, well, not here, but if you go up to Squamish, to the mountain they call the Chief, a lot of people have seen things coming out of the mountain there, and orbs and things. And so we drove up there a few more miles up the road to Squamish, BC, and we drove around the town. We could see this monolithic mountain, also much like the one in Australia, goes straight up and a very flat face, but nothing felt right when we were in the town. No vantage points looked right. So we looked on the map and we got away from the town onto some of the logging roads. We're driving along the one logging road, and we came to this clearing where we had a clear view of the Chief of this monolith. Instantly, we all said, this is it, right here. We all felt it. We all knew that we knew that we knew we were going to have an experience. And there were 4 of us there, Mark?
4 of us, yes.
Yeah, including Breslin. And we had all the equipment set up. And this was, a few years ago. And at that time, I didn't leave my cameras running all night. I would just have the cameras on, and if there was something, then I would have them press them separately to record. Well, I learned my lesson that night. And so I was talking to Mark, and I was just a few feet away from my camera equipment. It was all set up and on, ready to go, but not recording. All of a sudden, Breslin said, "What's that light over there?" And there was this bright yellowy light coming sort of over the chief and coming, looked like it was going to go into the woods. So I immediately turned my cameras and I thought, which camera do I set on? I've got like 8 cameras. So I immediately thought, okay, my night vision, the green zoom night vision camera. And I turned the tripod, I turned the cameras, pardon me, I turned the cameras and I captured it. And I got about, 8 seconds, Mark?
8 seconds, yeah.
And you can hear us talking, and this orb went right into the woods. And you see the trees lighting up in front, you see the trees lighting up behind.
Yeah.
And then it disappeared, and I captured it. Now, after that night, I always leave all of my cameras recording from
Yeah.
as soon as we get there and set up to when we shut her down. Because,
Yeah.
luckily, I did pick the right camera to get it. But everybody says, you got all those cameras, where's the other video? Well, that's what. And I didn't want to take my eye off the screen because it was Zoom. And once I had it in there, if I, took my attention away to start the other cameras, it would have been out of frame.
Right.
So I did capture it, and you will see it on YouTube. It's the Squamish Orb. It's hard to find. A lot of searches, you will not see it. Even though you put Squamish Orb, goes in the forest or whatever, it just doesn't come up. So if anybody's looking for that video, it's a pretty neat one, and it's real. It's authentic. It is an orb. It's something like 6 to 8 feet. We had MUFON Canada investigate it. And if you go to our YouTube channel, Rob Freeman UFO World Explorer, and just click on videos and click on most viewed, that's how you find it. Most of the time, it won't come up as a search. And we even suspect that we're being played with, Cesar, because it's got 100,000 views. You should be able to put those keywords in and it comes up. And most of the time it doesn't. So, just
We'll
go.
definitely I'll actually find the video and then I'll put the direct link so that way folks can just click on it.
Yeah.
And go straight to it. Wow, you would think with all the gear that you have, Rob, with the 8 cameras and whatnot, isn't there like a way to just like connect them all, push a button, and just boom, they all turn on?
Well, yeah, yes and no, because some of them are just an iPhone pushed against the scope, and you have to press it. It's not.
Gotcha.
That would be, in the perfect world, right?
It'll be convenient. Yeah, it'd be too convenient.
Yeah, but we were talking about that. We had the feeling. We had that at Playa. We've had that at various other points where we just know. It's a knowing that just you get at the feeling level, and we knew it at that night too. And it was exactly 10:59 p.m. when that light appeared. And but we all knew, every single person in the car, when we came to that spot, we knew that we were going to capture something there that night.
And you can't deny that. If it was just you, but there's four of you there, right? Yeah, there's something talking about that.
Where is this coming from? Are we connecting with them telepathically? Are they telling us? Do we have a vibration as such that we get the information?
Who knows, right?
We don't know.
Who knows? But whatever it is, you'll take it.
Yeah.
So before you go, Mark, is there anything that you want to tell the audience?
For me and Rob, it's the opportunity to promote Mount Shasta. We're going to be having an incredible event. It's going to be a combination of Vision Without Eyes with all the UFO world explorations, especially the big ones over the last 3 years. We've been to 10 countries over the last 3 years. So it's an epic event. And they can go to Vision Without Eyes. It's on Facebook. They can go to UFO World Explorer on Facebook. Obviously, we have the YouTube, and I know we'll probably be doing some videos to promote everything. Yeah, that for us is a really big opportunity. It's like a 10th year anniversary. For us, it's like we're bringing everything we've learned, all of our stories, so that we can have these evenings with people who spend the day doing Vision Without Eyes and training and learning. But then at night, it's going to be applying it to making contact. It's also going to be listening to us talk for hours because we can, and telling all our stories. But it's going to be a whole week of being able to have this. It's going to be epic, man. It's going to be so fun.
I appreciate you, Mark. And I'll wrap up things here with Rob and everything. Thank you again. It was an honor and a pleasure for you being on the show. And if one last thing from you, Mark. So if folks want to reach out to you or contact you, what's the best ways, social media, websites?
Facebook, we have UFO World Explorer. We have Encounters. We actually even have another one called Encounters Expeditions. So it's kind of, it's 3 Facebook pages that is everything Rob and I have done and will be doing. Plus Instagram. UFO World Explorer is on Instagram. Encounters is on Instagram. YouTube, UFO World Explorer. If you go at UFO World Explorer, it'll take us, take you everywhere.
Perfect. I appreciate that, Mark. And I'll make sure to at least throw 1 or 2 of those links on the descriptions. People can just quickly click and just start talking to you and see what you're doing. Well, Mark, take care. I'm sorry?
Colombia.
You're fine. I know, Colombia.
Yeah,
No, but again, we appreciate you, and hopefully we'll be able to have the opportunity in a few months or sometime this year to have another episode, so you guys can tell us, even more about what's going on. So we'll talk to you soon, and thanks a lot for coming on.
And Cesar, Mark forgot to mention that we've co-written a book called "The Man Who Made Contact." What is it, Mark?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Man Who Wanted to Make Contact. Amazon. It's on Amazon.
Okay. Yeah, good. See, hey, plug those in. You never know where these...
I'll send you a lot of links, Cesar. I'll send you...
Yeah. But Rob, I wanted to ask you one last thing regarding... Okay, so you hunt UFOs, ETs, things like that. But then there's whole nother community of people that hunt what I just recently learned are called cryptids, Bigfoots, werewolves and things like that. What are your thoughts regarding that realm? Is it the same thing? Is it something different?
Yeah, a lot of people say it's all interconnected, Cesar. In fact, we've had our first taste of that in that Brazil expedition there last year with that creature.
Yes.
So
okay, that could be cryptid. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, it doesn't interest us as much, but we've had a taste of it. Maybe we're being led down that path or down that rabbit hole. I don't know. I mean, we definitely, we had multiple witnesses, and that's the thing. Mark and I we're doing this together so that we've always got 2 people who can corroborate when something happens, right? So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that talk about Bigfoot. A lot of people we've interviewed have talked about that and showed us footprints and stuff. I guess because of my experience as a kid, that one's near and dear to me, like the UFO stuff. But certainly, we might be being drawn into having more experiences of, with creatures. Who knows?
Yeah. I guess you're right. You don't really choose what experience that you have. You just hope to be there at the right time, the right place, hear the calling, and just experience it, right?
Well, it's true. We present ourselves on these expeditions and we're open because we do not predict what's going to happen, but a lot of times we will predict or feel that there will be something. We just don't know what. And typically each experience is different. They're all unique.
Yeah, I'm interested for folks that don't do the research and exploration that you do. Can you describe that feeling, the initial feeling when you have your camera set up, you're in the right location, you've had the calling that this is where I need to be. Now that waiting moment before it happens, can you put us in that mindset of what that feels like for you?
Well, the thing is, most of the time it happens when you least expect it. It really does. Like, you may know that something's going to happen, but typically if you're kind of waiting for it to happen, that's not when it happens. It's when you forget about it, and maybe like in the Squamish situation, I had completely forgot about everything. I was just talking to Mark. We were making conversation when all of a sudden it started happening. So that is typically what happens. It's when you are kind of looking away. Like, it's like, Wizard of Oz, look away, look over here. Don't look at the man behind the curtains. it's when you're not paying attention is when it starts, usually. But many times we will know that we are going to have something that will happen. We just don't know when. And we knew, for example, I'll expand on Bucharest, France there, when we went to the mountain and it was pitch black that night. We couldn't see where the mountain even was. And our friend said, well, we have to find the mountain and we have to find a place to observe tonight. And when she said that, we were just going around a bit of a bend and my lights shone on where another road came out to the road. And in that particular one, it was like a big, large area of gravel, V-shaped, where the road came out. It just didn't come out to the road at 9 degrees. It was like this V. And as I saw that, I said, right here. And I felt it. And that was the exact spot we were when we had that light show. And once we got there and our eyes got accustomed to the dark and these lights started, we could see the mountain. Okay. So we get a feeling that we know that we know that we know, but there's no lead up to it when it actually happens. It just all of a sudden is there. Like we were just chit-chatting at that spot, and it was about 10 or 15 minutes later when the light show started happening. It's like, well, what is this? And I immediately at first thought that it was spotlights somehow from the airport. But it was strange because there were no lights pointing up this way. It was like as if there were spotlights shining from above, almost like big giant orbs that were dancing around, but they're very diffuse. And that's what our other person said. There's no airport within 200 miles. So once it started happening, that was a real exhilarating feeling. Now, in this case, it went on for 2 hours and we actually were starting to get kind of bored. As strange as it sounds, it was going on for 2 hours. And it's like, we were already tired when we got there. And it's like we're running on adrenaline. And it's like, well, we got things to do tomorrow. And here it is, like, 2:15 in the morning, and we still got to drive back for 30 minutes to where we were staying and get unpacked. Because when we got to the hotel, we never even unpacked. Like when we got there, it was like, as Mark says, it was like midnight. And that's when I said, well, we're here. We only got 2 nights here. Let's go out. And we did. And of course, we had the most fantastic light show of our whole 10 years right there that night. But, we knew that something was going to happen. We just knew that we knew that we knew.
Wonder why, because you mentioned, we talked about the mind numbing when these entities are nearby and everything. Do you think at that time when you were seeing the light shows, did you feel that mind numbing or no? Because it seemed like it was different.
No, we were quite exhilarated there. And we felt that it might be, a craft it was something. We don't know exactly because it wasn't distinct. It was just it was like a light show.
So it probably felt like it probably said, okay, this isn't anything that we need to mind numb them for. We're gonna do a couple of lights. They're gonna be all curious about it and everything. And then when you got bored, you pretty much, I guess, consciously told it, okay, we're good. And it was like, all right,
Well, yeah.
Have a nice day.
When we got bored and we thought, oh man, we've got to go back, got to get some sleep. And that's when Mark said, well, how long are we going to stay out here for? Because it was going on. And that's when we said, well, when it stops, then we go. And it literally stopped 10 seconds later, like 10 seconds later.
Yeah,
was I picking up on that it was going to stop, or did it stop because it was picking up on me wanting to go home to bed?
All of the above, Rob.
Well,
all of the above.
Connection like this, right?
Yeah. I love it. Rob, again, I appreciate that you were able to extend, you and both Mark were able to extend your time to continue having some of this just amazing conversation and amazing stories, and just people that are listening or viewing this, whether you took notes or this helped you get from point A to point B while you were driving, whatever the case is, please, I ask if there's anything here that you resonate with. Maybe you've had your own experience that you would like to share. Drop it in the comments. Let us know. Share with us. The goal of this episode is so you guys can hear these two gentlemen tell their stories to then hopefully trigger your stories. Okay. So start talking to us. The important part is if you're having the conversation, then that's where we want to be. Just have the conversation. That's all this is. And Rob, I'm not going to ask you the final questions because I asked you the last time that you were here. So what I will ask in its place is regarding this new, I forgot what you called it, but this new event that you'll be doing where you'll do the mind sight and then going afterwards. Tell us, if you can, what is your expectation, if anything, and what do you hope to take away from that event?
Yeah, so during the day, we're teaching the mind sight. This is where you can see without your eyes. There's two levels. There's the intuitive level where you get images. When you're wearing your blindfold, whether your eyes are open or closed, you'll get images of things people are holding up. So whether it's letters, numbers, pictures, colors, whatever, that's at the intuitive level. And then we use that to go to the seeing without eyes in real time, like seeing the room in real time, and where you will actually be able to see. Usually starts out with a very small window, a tiny hole, if you will. And those windows can get bigger. You can get more of them. They join together over time. So you can see without eyes. So we're learning that during the day, and then we will apply that in the evening. Like in the early evening, Mark will do presentations where he shows footage of all the places we've been and, interactions and talking about the UFOs and the phenomenon around that. But then, around 8:30, once it starts getting dark, we'll go out in the field with all the cameras and we will have people use their mind sight to see outside of the visible spectrum what might be in the sky. Okay. And they will see it and they will point it out. People who are just looking with their eyes likely won't see it. So where they point it out to me, I will move the cameras. And since I have cameras that are beyond the visible spectrum, the cameras should be able to document that. So it's going to be an exciting week. It's people that have a dual interest of both wanting to learn to see blindfolded and who are interested in UFOs, ETs, UAPs, extraterrestrial, all of that phenomenon. And it seems there's quite a crossover. About 80% of the people who, in general, are interested in mind sight are interested in the UFO phenomenon as well. So this is going to be an epic event. It's not even published yet on the visionwithouteyes.com website. I'll at least by this weekend, I will have my email. I believe my email is in there anyways, robfreeman@look.ca. And they can write me and get put on a pre-register list of priority so that when we actually publish it and people start wanting to come to the event, those people will have a top priority to be able to sign up first because they've already written. So it's actually, many people are writing. I think we've got 12 people already. We're going to have something like 25 people. Nobody's paid yet or anything like that, but they're on the list wanting to be contacted when we've actually ironed out all the details. But this is going to be a very cool event where they can learn something, then they can apply it. And I would expect that they will see things, and I would expect that I will be able to capture them in the camera outside of the visible spectrum.
I have no doubt. That all sounds exciting, Rob. I'm happy for you. I'm glad there's people already on the waiting list. And yeah, I love the fact that you said that not only are you going to teach people something, which is the mind sight, but then you're going to apply it. You're going to put it into effect. And usually your mind sight situation is normally done in a classroom environment and things like that. So now you're about to take this to the outdoors, up into the sky. I mean, that is so cool. I'm happy for you. That's definitely showing progression and a level up to what you're teaching folks. And who knows? I mean, even out of, let's say you get just a dozen people, one of those people is going to be your gold nugget. Like they're going to see something that's going to be like, wow, and everything stuff. So I'm excited for all of you, especially you. I've told folks before as well here on my social media as well. Rob, you're a great guy. You're doing great things. Your heart is in the right place. I resonate with what you're doing. I vibe with your frequency. Your intention is at least for me, and I'm sure some folks that are listening and viewing, is clear as crystal. I mean, we know where your heart and where your mind is. And folks, if you support what Rob is doing, if you have a chance or opportunity, wherever you are that are listening, to join his sessions, by all means, head over there, reach out to him, join, open your mind, and see what this world is really about. See what this construct is, you know. But if you can't go to be part of one of Rob's sessions, just reach out to him. You know, send him an email. Say, hey, Rob, look, I'm Joe Blow. I have a story. You know, and see where that takes you guys. You know, Rob, what's one? Well, first of all, tell folks again how they can reach you. I mean, again, I'll have the links in the description, and then let us know last piece that you want to tell the audience.
Sure. So basically, for the Seeing Without Eyes, for the mind site, it's visionwithouteyes.com. And you can see what events are happening. There's going to be coming very soon is the one May 4th to May 9th here. And, if we have any cancellations and somebody wants to come in there last minute, by all means, write me. So that's coming up soon. The next event is this one at Mount Shasta, California, August 10th to August 15th. That's the combo event. That's Mind Sight and the Sky Watching. And once again, you can contact us through the Vision Without Eyes, because my email will be there to get put on the pre-registered list. Or, all the UFO World Explorer stuff, you can contact Mark through there. Mark monitors all that stuff. So there's various ways through the Facebook, through the YouTube channel, to reach out to Mark there and ask to get put on the pre-register list. And then once we've actually nailed down the exact pricing and so on, hotels and all that kind of stuff, it will be published. And those that are on the pre-register list, I'll start right from the very first person and offer them a spot. And if they take it, great. If they don't take it, it just keeps going down until we've taken everybody that wants to go. So that's how to reach out and contact either one of us.
Thanks, Rob, and I appreciate that. And folks, I'll make this really quick for you guys. If you enjoyed the episode, if you enjoyed the conversation, like, subscribe, share it to people that you feel will resonate with this information, this conversation, these individuals, and are interested in just this topic in general. If you're listening to me on any audio platforms like Spotify, Apple, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, whatever the case is, please do me a favor to support the show. Rate it with the 5 stars. It helps the algorithm reach further and further out. So again, people can continue having these conversations all over the world. So, and with that being said, Rob, I want to thank you. I'm grateful. I'm humbled, and we'll probably be doing more episodes in the future when bigger things happen, right?
Absolutely. I look forward to these podcasts. This is the second one we've done, and the time goes by so fast, Cesar. We could talk forever. And look forward to the next one. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And with that being said, folks, as a reminder, I love you. I hear you. I see you. I am you. Continue to ask questions. Don't be afraid to pull back the curtain and take a deeper look. Push forward, always reaching beyond the frequency.
Y de repente aparece una de estas naves, también de no más de 1,5 metros de diámetro, se les acerca y les va persiguiendo. Es un aspecto del fenómeno ovni que no es conocido. Es muy curioso que donde haya sucedido siguieron aconteciendo aquí en Colombia.
Era una nube inmensa.
Y estaba muy brillante el día, o sea, había buen sol y se veía que un objeto que alumbraba muchísimo y estático, ahí, suspendido en el aire.
Hacia el agua, y de pronto era todo en color blanco.
¿Qué nos están haciendo? O sea, ya era pensando qué pasaba o qué nos querían decir.
¿Estamos solos en el universo? ¿Por qué estamos aquí? ¿Cuál conexión tenemos nosotros con el resto del cosmos?
El caballo empezó a correr y a brincar y se le apareció un ser a Miriam de frente.
Me llamaron mucho la atención y uno empezó a moverse. Hizo como la circunferencia de la Tierra, ¿no?
Tuvimos la suerte de encontrar sobre todo 2 casos muy impactantes, pero que es real, que merece la pena que sigamos investigando.
Cuando a Rodrigo se engrandó la luz.
De ese lado de la montaña venía el objeto, venía cruzando y de un momento a otro se detuvo. El objeto se devuelve hacia acá, queda sobre nosotros, sobre los niños que estábamos acá.
Siento una confianza y una fe en que es así, ¿sabes? O sea, me da paz.
Another one appears, yeah.
That's incredibly bright.
Start appearing here. You can see them going across, crisscrossing back and forth. Don't know whether there was intelligence here or whether it's a natural phenomenon.
Fuerte.
And we filmed it for 45 to 50 minutes, just over and over and over again. And what is it?
CIO, Centro de Informes OVNI.
Año de Argentina. January 1986, and there was a crash. And here is a photo of the crash site.
Decía en esto de los contenidos, la importancia de los contenidos. En estos tiempos, cuando OVNI, por ejemplo, y esto basado en nuestros análisis, OVNI hoy es una etiqueta que tiene ya una imagen incluida. Cuando en la realidad OVNI es una sigla que viene de un proyecto secreto de Estados Unidos y que aparece en la década de los 40.
Question is, where should we set up?
A mí me aparece como una bola, sí, una bola. No luz. Yo veo una luz, acá es una bola y él hace zoom.
Where do you generally see the lights? This way? So they actually saw a being?
Esto acá que yo recuerdo, esto era todo el patio, no había vegetación.
So what happens here?
Here, well, here we have the appearance of 1 or 2 humanoids to his uncle, to Christian's uncle. And we're at the place where it happened. The only thing they know is the humanoid had pointy ears.
En ese galpón.
Was not too tall.
Ahora vamos a entrar.
Yeah, we're going in.
Now at that time, did people live here?
Yes, people lived here. There were no trees here.
This was a residence.
This place has seen better times.
En el fondo del galpón, que se puede llegar, en el fondo del galpón había estivas de bolsas y de ahí bajaba el duendecito. La ventaja que tenían ellos que como la luz entra de atrás y ellos estaban mirando hacia allá, o sea, no había nada que lo encandilaba, nada, o sea, no, era inconfundible lo que vieron. Esta altura más o menos. Tenía orejas largas y como se ven, con una vestimenta, con un gorrito y un bastoncito.
Did anybody see the creature coming out of the craft?
No.
They saw the craft, they saw the creature, but
they saw the craft one day, and another day they saw the creature here.
So we don't know if there's a connection between the two.
Otra cuestión que por ahí puede llegar a tener relación, Cleader, que es la que vio el OVNI, murió al poco tiempo de cáncer, 1 año en cama y muere de cáncer.
Well, Cleader, 1 year after seeing that UFO, died here because of a cancer.
Do you think there's any connection there?
Family is just suggesting that it might be.
Buenas tardes. Hola, amiguito.
Hola, querido.
¿Cómo anda usted?
Gracias por recibirnos, amigo.
One.
Rock,
Yo soy
¿cómo
Ron
anda?
en Canadá.
¿Cómo anda usted?
Bien.
Amiguito. Soy Cristian.
Hola,
amigo. Ahí. Ahí.
Okay.
No, aquí.
Y no está muy difícil para decir, para sanar un poco a lo desconocido, a lo que vio, a lo que vivió, es salir de donde está, no encerrarse, caminar, salir en bicicleta, vivir. Porque si uno se encierra, la cabeza te lleva mal. Hay cosas que muy difícil vivirla, ¿cierto? Vivirla te trama la cabeza, te queda diciendo aquello fue así y no, te lleva a la locura. Porque a mí, yo estoy bien, digo que estoy bien.
Claro, pero es aprender a los tropezones.
Y aprendí a los tropezones. Y ahí estoy, ¿viste? Hoy, ¿viste? Sueño y digo, se hace realidad. ¿Por qué? Porque estaba de este lado, estuve viéndolo, no me pasó a mí, lo vi, lo viví.
La historia de esta capilla es muy interesante porque lo que los locales nos están contando es que si bien obviamente es un lugar de culto, de adoración, al mismo tiempo también es un lugar que habría sido establecido aquí por la presencia de las luces. Ante la actividad de las luces, decidieron empezar justamente aquí la capilla. Lo que es interesante porque sucede algo muy parecido en Chile.
¿Podés? Te lo tengo.
Si lo que estamos viendo realmente es algún tipo de luz extraña o con el espectrómetro poder entender que quizás se trata de algo humano y normal, es mucho mejor todavía porque hasta nos sacamos la duda también de qué está pasando.
Sí, realmente. Nos sacamos la duda en lo que sería la parte científica realmente del fenómeno.
Correcto.
De lo que se está dando. Pero
Sí.
para mí hay más de un fenómeno, que esto me parece que va más allá de lo que es ovni y demás. Lo que pasa es que hay que saber distinguir qué es realmente.
Keep an eye on these lights here. There was 3, now there's 2, now there's 1.
La entrada, vamos a ir como más o menos, es como 30 metros de profundidad, ¿no? Al fondo, y se ve a otro lado de la isla, que según nuestros ancestros nos dijeron que es otra dimensión.
How do you feel?
I'm very good.
I'm very good. That's excellent.
Esta es una cabeza de extraterrestre que se encontró acá. Ahora lo hicimos nosotros, donde se ven los ojos y la boca y el cráneo, el elongate cráneo. Según algunas culturas antiguas de este lugar de la isla, se dice que este es un portal hacia otra dimensión y el que cruza obviamente se va a otros mundos dimensionales.
This is the place right here.
Aquí estamos.
We are
This is the point.
literally on the top of the world.
Pues chicos, este es el lugar de contacto. This is the point. En este lugar he tenido mi última experiencia de contacto físico con una anciana maestra venusina llamada Amani. Ella, en este encuentro, abrió un pliegue cósmico, tal como lo contaba en la tarde, pero con la diferencia de que era como un espejo. Aquí se formó en esta área como un anillo de energía, y en el centro apareció como un huevo de luz violeta que se abrió y saca traspasa, extiende su mano y me pone el dedo en la frente. Fue increíble. Crea tantas dependencias el ser humano desde que nace que tiene que pasar por la tercera etapa, me dice Tel, que es la de la independencia. Y aquí viene el punto en cuestión, me explica.
y lo comprendía así, de que hay personas que han creado tantos lazos en su entorno que le es muy difícil liberarse de ese proceso en lo que tiene que ser la cuarta etapa o su edad madura. Entonces él me explicaba de que llegar al cuarto estado de desarrollo del ser humano es lo que se conoce como despertar de conciencia. Cuando uno despierta conciencia, se libera de todas aquellas ataduras, pero aquí viene lo más importante, comprende. Entonces es posible comenzar a cambiar o hablar de un cambio a nivel de humanidad.
Will you guys go? I'm going to stay with the camera.
Okay.
You guys can go for a walk. I'll stay with the camera.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. What's happening? I hear all the screaming.
Vocês estão tudo aí?
I hear everybody screaming.
No, but this is live. This is happening right now.
Yeah.
So if you can light up with the mother and the child are talking about.
Okay, do you want the white light or the red?
Go white.
Okay.
Só que ele correu muito rápido, porque assim, de começo eu escutei lá longe. Quando eu tava correndo, ele já tava perto.
Ele já tava perto.
Ele foi muito rápido. Tipo assim.
Esperar, a gente vai voltar lá agora.
Foi tipo assim.
Nós vamos voltar lá.
Ele foi da Maria já tava com medo. Ele já foi de segundos de lá até mim, até nós.
Foi o rápido, o espaço dele foi muito rápido.
E pesado.
Pesado. E nós, ó.
Tanto que eu nem gritei, porque eu fiquei em silêncio. Porque, tipo assim, se eu gritei, como você tava gritando, eu já teria, tipo assim, eu pensei de um jeito. Se eu gritar, ele não vai me ver.
Veio lá da onde estava a luz, aonde a gente estava iluminando. Ele veio daquele sentido, a hora que ele viu que a gente fixou a luz, a hora que ele viu que nós apagamos, aí que ele pegou velocidade e veio pra cima.
So the mother and the boys and girls went for a walk down the road. And since it's cloudy, I just thought, well, I'll just follow them with the cameras. I've got the thermal and the full spectrum and so on, and I just followed them down the road. All of a sudden, I heard the screaming, and I heard like a flapping sound. It was almost like a giant bird was flapping its wings, and I heard like a big animal was running down the road, like with its feet or hoofs on the ground, very loud and strong.
Como que era? O que tinha nessa sombra?
Eu não vi direito, tipo, olhei muito rápido. Eu só vi que tinha, tipo, quando eu corria, parecia que era umas pisadas fortes. Tipo, Giovana, isso não é brincadeira, Giovana, é sério, para. E, né, eu só fiquei gritando e eu não ouvi direito. Eu só tinha ouvido os passos naquele momento que nós começamos a correr.